Google. No, you can't search for the Trump assassination attempt. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. There's no denying the fact that Google is one of the most powerful companies in the world. They have information, knowledge, and economic power that arguably no other company has. It has one of the biggest databases in the world. It has information from over 4.5 billion people in the world that use internet and mobile phones. It has information about geographic location, age, gender, internet searches and interests. That has information about words, topics, web pages and websites. This information is used by Google to sell search and display advertising to companies all over the world, which they can do without displaying personal information. Every piece of new content that is published on the internet is stored in this vast Google database. Everything people do with their mobile phones and everything they do on the internet is stored in this database. It'd be fair to say that Google knows more about you than you know about yourself. The world's information has been organized by Google and is universally accessible and useful to everyone through several powerful Google search engines that monopolize the internet search. Google Search for commercial and general information, Google YouTube for videos, Google Images for pictures and images, Google Maps for maps, Google Scholar for academic and scientific papers, Google Books for books, Google News for news, and recently Google Health for personal medical records. Never before has a private or public organization had such information power. Google has over 100,000 employees worldwide, and many of these employees hold PhD degrees. Most of the world's artificial intelligence and machine learning engineers, they work at Google. The talented artificial intelligence startup companies in the world have been acquired by Google. Google sells over $150 billion per year in digital advertising, which is 50% of the total digital advertising business. And it's also 25% of the total $600 billion a year digital and traditional advertising business. Google is the global leader in the digital advertising business. And as the traditional advertising investment moves to digital advertising, Google will continue to grow. Market capitalization is high for Google, reaching its highest at $1 trillion, becoming one of the few companies in the world that's reached that market value, along with Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft. Brand value for Google is around about $160 billion. Cash and financial reserves are substantial, more than $117 billion in cash and financial reserves. The company has a substantial influence over the world, and in particular with regard to the provision of information. As you know, information has always been useful, and latterly, as a consequence of the power of the internet, has become a commodity in itself, there to be harvested and sold. But moreover than that, the control and flow of information allows opinions to be formed. It allows a particular picture to be portrayed to people, to influence their decisions, whether it's in terms of what they put in their weekly shopping basket or who they vote for politically. Control of that narrative has always been important to those that seek power, but even more so in a world where so much information is available, yet so much of it can also be faked. The ability to influence what information people receive, what information people have access to, is a massively powerful advantage. And of course, this is something that many individuals rail against. They find that the capacity and ability of an organization to control not only the storage of that information, but how it's presented to people, so that they form their opinions about the world and the people around them based upon the presentation of this information, somewhat Orwellian and demonstrative of some form of totalitarian authoritative control. The flow of information is naturally important to the narcissist. The narcissist regularly uses the flow of information against the victim. This is primarily done through the manipulation of what is understood to be the truth. The narcissist deals in half-truths and lies alongside the use of the truth. My video, The Truth, the Half-Truth and Nowhere Near the Truth, expands on this concept. Remember, the narcissist needs to get the prime aims. One way of ensuring that somebody is under your control, that they respond to provide you with fuel, that they offer up those character traits and residual benefits, is to control what that individual knows. Thus, it's long been the case that many narcissists have been attracted to positions of power within the media, owning newspapers, owning news corporations. So not only are they able to bring pressure to bear upon other decision makers, to give them what they want, by suggesting that they will portray them in a good or bad light through the use of their media machinery, but they can also then tell the world what the world should know. That certain things are not reported on, are ignored, that certain things are portrayed in a different way, certain things are highlighted, certain things are repeatedly brought to your attention, so that the average news reader or news gatherer, news consumer, is given an image of the world that is manufactured for them by those who wish to set the agenda. This is, of course, why so many people don't trust mainstream media, as they regard it as dishonest. They believe that it is attending to the agenda of certain individuals. For instance, the talk of there being a new world order, that it caters to the elite, the Illuminati. The fact is that narcissists are attracted to the ability to disseminate information, always have been. It's trite to state that knowledge is power, but it is. By controlling information, you know, for instance, where your enemy's armies are, and they might not know where yours are, thus making it easier to defeat them. By telling a populace only that which you want them to know, certain atrocities are kept away from them, making governing them easier. By only portraying certain information to them through propaganda, this seeks to make an organization, a leader, a government more popular than it actually ought to be. By monetizing information, it enables a corporation to become wealthier, enabling it to invest in further means of controlling the provision of that information. Being able to control the flow of information and its portrayal is something that you have seen throughout history as hugely important, and invariably, who is it that wants that ability to control the narrative, the ability to portray a particular picture to the world? It's somebody that needs control. And who is it that needs control more than anybody else? The narcissist. Just recently, The Spectator has reported on the fact that Google has in effect erased Trump to some degree, resulting in blowback. It reports if you want to find information about the attempted assassination attempt on President Donald Trump, Google search suggestions are not on your side. There is then a screenshot whereby what's been written into Google is assassination attempt on President TRUM. And what are the options it provides you with? Assassination attempt on President Truman. Assassination attempt on Truman as the suggested predictions. The Spectator states the powerful search engine's bizarre search suggestions have provoked a flurry of backlash, including from ex-CEO Elon Musk. Ahem, at Google, he tweeted at the company. He's not alone in putting it on blast. Andrew Bailey, Missouri's Attorney General, tweeted that he is on it. It's not clear whether Google is violating any laws, however. The fairly overt bias from Google comes as other tech-related issues are bubbling to the surface. On Apple's iOS, for example, the auto-generated suggestion for president are Clinton, George, and Obama. Curious erasure of both the most recent president and the current occupant of the Oval Office. As I've explained, Google is a powerful corporation of itself and further is powerful as a consequence of the way that it provides information to many people in the world. And the fact that it appears, from what the Spectator has reported on, is presenting information in a particular way so that a recent assassination attempt on a former president is not something that immediately springs up in search options, even when you write assassination attempt on President TRUM, demonstrates a control of information. Furthermore, by the auto-generated suggestions for president omitting certain presidents, this also suggests some form of bias. This naturally poses a threat to control for someone such as Donald Trump, and undoubtedly he will become aware of this, and naturally his narcissism will utilize the truth of this bias in his favor. Remember, many narcissists are driven by paranoia. They believe that people are out to get them. Often that is correct. Often it's fabricated, and it's done by the narcissism to cause the narcissist to pursue the prime aims with vigor. Invariably, in order to nullify threats to control, many narcissists will talk about a conspiracy against them, that there are hidden agents who are trying to do them harm. Sometimes this is complete fabrication. In others, there's a grain of truth in it, but it's exaggerated. For example, Andrew Tate regularly talks about being pursued by the Matrix, thus deflecting from what really matters, his alleged criminal conduct. He points to the fact that it's the Matrix that is doing this. The Matrix is making things up about him. The Matrix is framing him. It's a convenient device for his narcissism to use to nullify threats to control based upon what he has done and suggest that he is the scapegoat for the machinations of others. Similarly, Donald Trump has in the past alleged certain information to be fake news. His narcissism has deemed that to be the case in order to nullify that threat to control. There are, of course, instances where fake news has been generated in relation to Donald Trump. It's part of the political smearing that takes place. But there are instances where actual information has been shared about him, but he dismisses it as fake news driven by his narcissism. Here, the evident bias contained within Google is likely to be seized upon him through his narcissism is clear evidence of the attempts to silence him or to nullify him, to turn him down, to mute him. Here, his narcissism would be able to use the truth, for it is evident that that is what is happening utilizing Google as a search engine. Thus, in this instance, Donald Trump's narcissism would utilize the truth for the purposes of getting to the prime aims. But the point is, as the power of Google demonstrates, the flow and use of information is hugely useful to the narcissist. Whether it's in a personal relationship by keeping you in the dark about what the narcissist has been doing, or whether it's a leader of a country wanting to keep the populace in the dark about some of the atrocities that that country has been engaging at the direction of that leader. The flow, suppression, utilization and presentation of information is massively important to the narcissist as part of the pursuit of the prime aims. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.